Good morning. Good morning. It's Rashida, and we're starting live today. We're talking about getting my 1 year temporary residency permit in Mexico extended for another 3 years. I did that this week. Yay! Celebration, celebration, celebration. I also got a work visa. We'll talk about how all that happened in a minute. For right now, hey to everybody who's here. If it's your first time watching me, and you're live, hi. If it's your first time watching me and you're in the comments and you're watching the replay, shoot me a comment. Tell me, hey, tell me how's it going. Tell me why you came and what you're looking for. Like, are you watching this video about visas because you want to move to Mexico? Are you just curious? Let me know. In the comments, is my mom. Hey, mommy. Yolanda, hey, girl, hey. Glass half full. Carla, Nikki, Moxie, Brown Sugar Babe. Good morning, everyone. Okay, so today's talk is mostly going to be about the Mexico visa process. I'm going to run it back and give you guys a little bit more information about my original visa process. So I'll tell you about that in a minute. I'm an hour later than usual this morning because I had a 1 week unlimited yoga pass at a studio, and that meant either I had to either end early or start late because they only had morning classes. So, hi. Y'all know I love you. I want to be here at the same time every week, but also I'm going to live my life, and we're doing this. Okay. Hey, Adelia's here. Francis, Carrie, Chloe, Simi, Greta, Elisa. Hey, Greta. Hey, everyone. Before we get started, I realize I have not told you guys a fun story in a while. So, I like to start with a story. So today I'm going to tell you about this restaurant I went to this week. Yes, I went this week. I went on Wednesday, which is usually my adventure day. I heard it's got like the best Mexican food in town. The best if it's not like street food. The best like somebody's abuelo and abuela have been in the kitchen since 1945, just grinding it out, right? Just getting the flavors right, doing all the things. I heard it is the place to be. Made reservations. It took me like 3 weeks to get in. Cool. I got there, I'm excited. They close at 6, which I find interesting for like a full service. It wasn't like a lunch place. It's not a breakfast place. It's a full service restaurant, and they close at 6. Interesting. It's pretty much on the same street I live on, just a ways down the way, a ways I'd never been before. So that was an interesting experience. Took the bus down. I took the trolley bus. Adelia and I always talk about the trolley bus, how it doesn't go through my neighborhood. It goes through my neighborhood, but not usually the places I'm going. And the trolley buses in my neighborhood were ancient. Like they looked like the abuelo and the abuela in the kitchen at the restaurant. That's the buses they were riding on when they were babies. That's what those buses look like. But they've started replacing them with newer buses that don't look like they're going to break down every 3 stops. So I took one, cool, went to the restaurant. I didn't realize the picture was matching. Thank you. Picture that way. I didn't realize. You can tell I like these colors though. There's kind of a color thing going on. Buenos dias, everybody. Hey. Okay, so get to the restaurant. Cool. Got my table. I walk in. The hostess is talking to a waiter who's making something tableside for a table in his section. I think it may have been a tableside Caesar salad, like he's making the Caesar dressing from scratch, but I came there late, so I didn't see the whole thing, so I'm not sure. But then he served whatever he was making on like long strips of lettuce. It looked like a bit of like an oil on like lettuce. I don't know what he was making, but she said something to him, and he was like, no. He was like, you go ask her what she wants to drink. And like, I know enough to know that this is what's going on. And so she comes back, she's like, what do you want? I told her, whatever. And then I'm sitting here chilling. Ain't nothing really happening. The guy who I think he stopped making what he was doing went to another waiter and was like, boop, 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 looking at me, boop, 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 boop. And all of a sudden, the waiter, who I know I was in his section, he was supposed to be my waiter. That dude was like, nope. The waiter rejected me, y'all. The waiter at the restaurant I went to was like, not her. And I was like, in my face, like y'all are trying to be slick behind, but I can see you. I can see your mouths. I know enough body language and enough Spanish to know what's going on. I said, oh, I got passed from one waiter to the next. The more senior one was like, no, you junior waiter, you get to go do that. And I was like, wait. But you know what? I'm eating, so I don't care. So me and the waiter, we work it out. I order what they called, I'm not sure, white menu was the like is the exact translation, but I think it might have meant like blank menu because they're just like, it's 7 courses, period. Like, do you want 7 little baby tasters? We're not going to tell you what it is. Good luck. Like, just, do you want this or not? And do you want the matching drinks? I did not want the matching drinks. I was like, the baby taster food is enough for me today. So I did that instead of picking for the menu because I wanted to get a broader variety of the food they serve. I was talking to the waiter. He's explaining. So the young waiter's coming back, explaining things we're doing, we're talking, we're going, answering questions. Like, you know what I mean? Do you want back and forth waiter stuff? But like back and forth waiter stuff when they're bringing you 7 different plates, right? So it's talking. The older guy comes back at some point and he's like watching the younger, like standing right behind him. So I can tell he's in my space as the wait, not in my space, but like in my table zone as the waiter's doing this. So I'm like, what's happening here? And he pauses and he looks at me, and all of this is in Spanish. He looks at me and in Spanish he says, "You speak Spanish?" It's like, oh, that's why. That's why you rejected me. Because you were not going to deal with nobody. You were not ready for your day to, if the restaurant closes at 6, when someone walks in at 5 o'clock, you are not ready for your day to be made longer or harder. And I get it. He was like, wait, you speak? I was like, I don't speak Spanish very well, but I speak food Spanish, right? Like if you're explaining the foods to me, I get it. If I don't understand, we're gonna work it out real quick. Like that's the Spanish I speak. I speak food Spanish. And he was like, oh. I said, oh yeah, you didn't have to reject me. You did. And I find it hilarious. But you didn't have to. He was like he literally came back a couple more times, like, oh, okay, I thought you were gonna be one of those. Mind you, there is not a tourist in sight. There's no, everybody in the restaurant looks like they shot out the chute in a Mexico City hospital or bedroom, right? Like everybody, waiter, everybody in the place, every customer, everybody in the kitchen looks like Mexico City born and bred. And I was like, y'all and me. He said, no, not me. Somebody else got to deal with the foreigner. It's not me today. But it worked out. The food was good. I did not take it personally. I knew when he rejected me that it wasn't personal. I didn't think it was personal. It wasn't like, I don't like the look of her. I think it was like, I knew it was like, you see someone at work and you just like, I'm tired. That's how I took it when I got rejected originally. Like, he don't want it. And that's fine. If he has the clout at work to be like, I'm not doing that, who am I to tell you otherwise, right? However long you've been a waiter here, if you can tell someone else that is no longer my table, that's your table now, I mean, you're not getting this tip. But do what you do. Do what you do, right? New guy got the tip. Cool, whatever. So yeah, that was Wednesday. And then on Thursday, I got my, where did I put it? Oh, here it is. I got my new, it's not there. I got my new, I'm trying to show you the details, but I got my new green card, my new immigration card, because I went to immigration on Thursday morning. Backing up a second, if you don't know the story of my immigration saga, I'm going to drop some links in the description of this video so you have it, because if you're new to my channel and you don't know what I had to go through to get immigration, you should hear the story. It started in the Miami consulate in Miami. And the person I saw in Miami was a terrible, unhappy human. And so it was a very, very unpleasant experience. Unpleasant experience in that, like, at every opportunity that man had to be rude, he was rude, right? Like, I didn't die, right? I was fine, overall. Like, there was nothing terrible that happened, but like, he was rude. He was, I'm dropping this in now. Getting approved for my visa, which is a terrible human. My mom was there and she was like, I have never been treated like this in all my years. It was just, and he approved me. And it wasn't just us. He was rude to the people ahead of us. He was rude to the people who came in after us. Everyone we saw him talking to, he was rude. But like, rude and unnecessary. Rude and like, cool, you don't like your job. You're unhappy. I don't know what's going on. This is your life. Mom said he only treated us like we were criminals. He did things like took our drivers. We weren't together. She went first and then me. Had our passports and all our documents in our hand. And he was like, tell me your passport number. Who has their passport number like, is this like, my face is the same face. What does knowing my passport number by heart, where does that get us in this situation, right? Like, do I have all the documents you requested or not? Anyway, it was not good. It was real extra. So I dropped a video for that. And then I went to what am I saying? When I got after that, like a week later, I came to Mexico, and within the next 30 days, I waited a while. I went and I did the second part of the residency process, which is coming to immigration in Mexico and getting like it finalized here. So you get it approved in, I'm looking for that video now. Getting it approved happens in outside of Mexico, and then getting it finalized happens in Mexico. And they were fine. They just asked me, they acted like it wasn't approved. They acted like it was completely up to them. They had me signing things saying I wasn't going to work that people apparently don't have to sign. Like, they don't ask those people to sign. But for me, they were like, sign some additional papers. And I was like, but why? Could not figure out why. I showed up for everything. There was lots of like going back in the back to like whisper with the boss, and then coming back and doing something else and going back to the back to whisper with the boss. So I was like, I know what they're not telling you what's happening or what's going on. They're just like, boop, boop, boop. But I got approved. So I was like, I was in and out in 3 hours. So, right, like, it's bureaucracy. I wasn't too stressed. But this year I was like, I'm dropping this link too in the description. Finalizing my residency. I'm not going to type and talk. In Mexico City. All right, those are saved in there now. If you want to watch those. Okay, so in immigration, you can't use your phone. So if you don't understand what you're talking about, there's no translation services. So, whatevs. It was a process. This time around, I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to pay somebody to do it all for me. The guy I talked to was like, I'm not going to do it all for you. Like, I'll wait in line. I'll do all the paperwork. I'll wait in line so you don't have to get here early, blah, 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 blah. But like, I can't go in and do this part of the process for you. I don't do that. Okay, let me go in. He's like, you have to go in and get your paper and get your photo taken and your fingerprints taken. So I can't do that part. And I'm like, in other cities, like my mom just had to show up for her photo. Like her lady did it. So she just had to show up for that fingerprint and the photo. It's a different city. So the process might be different. And one thing to know about immigration in Mexico is what you expect will change every day. Like what it says on the website and what happens in real life, apples and oranges. Truly. If you don't understand anything else, know that it's apples and oranges for what happens in the website and what happens in real life. So the guys drew my forms and paperwork. He doesn't send me the form to pay. And so I hit him up and I'm like, hey, what's up with that? He's like, oh, there's a credit card. They've added credit card machines inside. So now there are credit card machines inside in Mexico City and you can pay with a Visa or MasterCard only. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. Right. But like, that's cool if the machines have been in there for like 2 weeks, maybe less, maybe a week. By the time I got there, it was like 2 weeks probably. I was like, that's cool. But what if they're not working? And he was like, as long as you have a Visa or MasterCard, it'll be fine. Now, this is why I need you to hear me when I say, just because something is supposed to go one way, that does not mean that's all what's going to happen. Just because someone says this is the way something happens, that may not have any relationship to reality. So the day before my appointment, he's like, ooh, guess what? That credit card machine ain't working. Am I not the one who told you I was skeptical about their machine working for a solid 2 weeks until I got there? Did I not tell you that with their new equipment that they just have right now, if that was broken, I wouldn't be surprised. Now, the problem is, if you don't have a credit card, you need to have, for what for me was a little less than $500 in cash on you to go pay. So I need to have a credit card. So the day before, he was like, okay, so yeah, it's not working. So bring some cash. And I was like, I feel like you don't like, I don't keep money in my local accounts. And so I don't have $500 in cash. I had already gotten some cash out of my account. I could make it work, but it was also like, just because you assume something's going to work does not mean it should, which also, hey, my people, my beautiful brown, Black people. I was having a conversation with Fidelia about this. Yeah, we after a lifetime of various forms of terror and torture, we have a spirit of discernment about certain stuff, which means if people are giving you advice that sounds foolish, use your discernment and know that what works for them may not work for you. That man told me a few things and I was like, nah, I'm Black. Like, no. Oh, I'll tell you what it was later, but along the way, he was telling me if you like, oh no, this is fine. This is how the process will work. And I was like, baby, I'm like, I didn't say it to him because I don't think he realizes I didn't want to have that conversation. But I was in my head, I'm like, no, I'm Black. We're not. No, absolutely not. Absolutely. Like you're telling me that like, oh, these won't be a problem. I'm Black. And so I'm going to ignore that advice. Like this thing you're telling me, which will not be a problem, I'm Black. Just like when he was like, no, the machine, it'll be fine. Just bring your credit card. I was like, why do you assume that it will work while at the same time I'm assuming it's not going to work, right? Like we have two diametrically opposed assumptions about the same thing. You assume if there's a machine in there, it's going to be working. And I'm like, skeptical. Anyway, the credit card machine was working. Pero they had maybe 10 desks open for processing, and only 5 of them had credit card machines. So when they called my name, there wasn't a credit card machine at the booth that was available at the lady who was working, who was ready for me. So I had to wait. So I got skipped by 2 people who were paying in cash or who had already paid in the bank in cash. And somebody else got skipped by, the guy behind me got skipped by 3 people. Yes, from behind us, because they don't have, there are credit card machines, but you have to wait until someone who's working where there is a credit card machine is available. So yes, there are credit card machines. If you're interested now in Mexico City, there are credit card machines. You don't have to go to the bank with the form and pay in cash in advance. The day before I went, they were not working. The day I went, they were working. I had to wait longer to use them. But yeah, spirit of discernment. Loyal Sky, you said doesn't sound like they want you there. I don't know what I've said that would give you that impression. Like it's nothing that I've described so far as a me thing. It's a Mexican bureaucracy thing. Except for like the Miami guy and the original INM thing, which was harder, but not when I was in INM the first time, it wasn't terrible. It was just like, I don't know why we're going through these extra steps, but sure. You need me to sign something saying I'm not working, even though I signed that and I got it approved in Miami? Okay, whatever. No, it has one INM office. One that sees people. They have other ones where I think they process things, but one that does this kind of paperwork and stuff that I know of. I only know of one. Everyone goes to when people say I'm going to INM, everyone means the same thing. No one ever says, which INM are you going to? So I think there's only the one. Okay. So I get there. The man is waiting in line. He was supposed to get in line early, so I wouldn't have to wait. He's waiting in line. He's like 40 people deep in line, but he's been there since 7. I get there at 8. The gates open at 9. You can't bring anyone inside the building with you. So no, there's no way to make it easier by having someone with you. Because of COVID, you can't bring people in. It's like one person gets to go in, at least in Mexico City. There may be special provisions for special people, but I have never heard of them. Okay. And that's why, like, if you don't understand what they're saying, but you can't bring someone with you, and there's no translation, you can't use your phone. So you just try to figure it out. Okay. So I meet the guy at the gate. This is helpful. And I think I'm going to give you his info to anyone who wants him, or I'll tell you how to contact him if you contact me. I don't believe in putting people's information on the internet. Like, I'm not gonna put his phone number out here, right? But I think I would recommend him with the knowledge that you have to use your discernment. The day I'm there is the day before my thing expires. They're taking some people in to do processing today for renewals, and we're telling some people come back late July. This is Thursday that this happened. So, late July, it's quite a while away. It's a month and a half, right? Okay. So we're telling people come back in a month and a half. Well, here's an appointment to come back in a month and a half, but because mine was expiring the next day, there was no they were like, no, just come in. Right. So I got there. Like I said, I got there at 8. Around 8:10, they started like telling people, you get to go in, you get to go make an appointment to come back. You get to go in, you get to make an appointment to come back. And so I get in line, I wait. He has all my paperwork for me. He's completed it. He's written a letter in Spanish that I want residency. I didn't even bother to read it. I really, now when I think about it, I was like, I didn't even bother to attempt. I can read Spanish generally, right? Especially if I have context. I know what's going on. I didn't even bother. I was like, it's in a folder. Let me go. He left, took my ID and my Mexican ID and my passport, made copies of them because they want copies inside. And he had some other stuff to do for other people. Wait, go inside, sit down, wait, get up, go talk to the people. Boom, 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 boom. Here is where we got into some problems. I don't understand the Mexican identification system in the times of COVID. Like we have some things we got to work through. Okay, so if we're looking at my passport and they're looking at the signature on the back of my card, and they're looking at the signature on my application. My passport signature, which I signed with a pen, matches my application for renewal signature, which I signed with a pen, but it does not match exactly. It's a little off from my signature on my card, which I sign on an electronic pad. Now, y'all know these electronic pads, what your signature could look like could be, who knows? Who knows what it could. You never know what you're getting with an electronic pad. So they're like, no, it doesn't match. And I'm like, okay, so you're looking at my passport that has my photo. You're looking at this ID card that has my photo. But you have not asked me to take my mask down to look at my face. Instead, you're insisting on using my signature, like a matching signature, to identify whether this is accurate or not. A signature on something that I signed a year ago. So they're going back and forth. They're talking, and because they couldn't find my passport, the signature on my passport at first, and so they put it down like it doesn't have a signature. And I was like, oh hey, I can't see everything you're doing, but my passport is signed. I can show you where it is. And there's some whispering between them, and I can't hear everything, so I can't really be helpful. Like I want to be like, no, it's signed. There you go. It's right there. It matches what I signed on paper because I signed these with pens. A little bit of back and forth. They got the letter. They're like, you want to renew for 3 years? I was like, yep. And I was like, not a problem. The guy was like, this is what you have to pay. And he wrote it down. And at first I was offended. I was like, why do you assume that I wouldn't be ready to pay what it is? That you, not only do you say, are you ready? He asked me, are you ready to pay for 3 years? I was like, yes. And he was like, no, this is what the number is. And I was like, cool. And I was like, I see nobody else writing numbers for anybody else. And at first I was like, I don't like that. But I realized what's probably happening is that he's not confident in his ability to say those numbers in English, and he's not confident in my ability to understand those numbers in Spanish. So I'm gonna say, I don't think that was about, it felt at first like it was him assuming I did not have the money to pay. But I'm gonna back up and say it was probably like, I can't say these numbers to you and think you're going to understand them, because numbers are hard, y'all. You get over like 90 and I'm like, what number is that? What? Girl, just take this card, right? Like sometimes I'm like, I don't know. Just, can you show it to me on a calculator? What are we doing? So yeah, he wrote it down. Cool. Lots of back and forth in the process. But nothing out of the ordinary. There was nothing to sign, nothing to do. They back and forth. But you have to go in every year or choose to do it for like 3 years at a time. And I was like, I'm not doing this every year. We just gonna do this 3 years. We done. Okay. I get it approved. Yes. I sign, they sign, it's stamped. We done. We good to go. We're good to go. Okay. So next is getting your photograph and your photograph and your fingerprints taken. And I also have to renew my CURP. Let me stop and talk about my CURP for a second, because I saw that Halisi asked me, she knew I had to get something renewed. Last year, when I went for this finalization process, the CURP is like kind of like a tax ID number as far as I can figure it out. I don't really know. I've never had to use it. So I got it. It was good for 6 months. I need to come in and renew it in 6 months. But if I don't need this number, I'm not going down to the immigration office. That takes hours of time out of my day to renew something that I've never needed. No. So I didn't renew it. I went to the guy. I said that to the guy um, that morning. He was like, don't worry. He was like, for a time, they decided that they were going to do it for 6 months, make you come in and then renew it. But he's like, they're doing everyone. Like they've moved it back. It was permanent. Like you got a number and it lasted forever. And then they did like 1 year for amount of time. They did 6 months for amount of time. And now it's just permanent for everybody. And I was like, okay. So he's like, when you go in, tell them what you need. You'll get a permanent number. So yeah, so Picky Girl Travels. Adelia says renewing a CURP is not a thing. It is for me or whatever. I don't know if I renewed it or got a new number, but the lady was like, yes, you'll be able to see it online in probably now. I can go to a site and check, give them a number on my ID and it'll show up and I'll have a CURP because it's supposed to be permanent. But for a while they were doing it for 6 months. During the pandemic, they were just like, we're just going to make shit up. You want to try something? Let's try something new. How will people react? We don't know. We're just going to try something new. So yeah. So my guy was like, yeah, they tried that. It didn't work. And so we're gone back to permanent. So boom. He's like, today when you get a number, it's going to be permanent. Boom. Hey, Danielle from Querétaro. Danielle, Adelia had me watching Heavenly Bites Mexico yesterday on Netflix, y'all. If you haven't watched Heavenly Bites Mexico, check it out. A lot of the food, I thought about that for you, Danielle, because a lot of the food is in Mexico City, Querétaro, and Guadalajara, and Veracruz, I think is where most of the food was. I think one of the things I marked in Querétaro was like a bakery. Was that where Manantial was, Adelia? I don't know. But if you haven't seen Heavenly Bites, there's some food in your neck of the woods that you should check out. Heavenly Bites Mexico on Netflix. Sidebar. Okay, let me get some water. Aria D is in Porto. Okay, Halisi from Our Black Utopia says Portugal NIF number is permanent and the stores are asking for it. What do they do when they ask for it? Yeah, Monte Conchas was in QRO and Monte Conchas was at El Manantial. That was the bakery that it was at. Monte Conchos, Monte Conchas, a concha muffin cupcake. But I'm gonna check that out next time I get to town. All right, so Halisi, I want to know what the stores are asking for your NIF for. Here, the only thing that we really see with the main time we hear about CURPs, some people are opening bank accounts. Maybe some other like long-term commitments. I think sometimes maybe when you're joining a gym, they might ask for it, but otherwise, I've been here for a year. No, wait. I've been here for 20 months, and even before I had my residency, no one has ever asked me for a CURP, ever. I've never done anything where everyone's like, but I need your CURP number. Oh, sales tax are subtracted from what is owed and after the tax number. Oh, sales tax are subtracted from what is owed on income taxes. But what if you don't own income tax? Like, what's the benefit? You know what? Anyway, let me not get into Portugal because I don't know nothing over there. Yes, Teresa, they had to, when I got my residency, she was like, you have to come back in 6 months and renew your CURP. And I was like, wait, but I have to come back in a year and renew my residency. She was like, yes. I was like, so I have to come back in 6 months and a year. And she was like, yes. So apparently I came in a short window where they were giving 6 month CURPs. Okay. Got the CURP. Good to go. I go upstairs. I went upstairs first, but the CURP story is just much easier. I went upstairs to get a photo and fingerprints taken. You give them the form, more sitting down, go to a lady. She's asking me questions and I don't have context yet. So I don't know I can't figure out the words she's saying because we're both masked, right? So there's that conversation gap and I don't have the context. Then I realized she's asking demographic questions like they did on the form last year. I don't think she needs to ask these demographic questions. because it's already in the system. But things might have changed. Like maybe I have a child. Maybe my religion's because they asked like religion, children, are you married? What do you do? What's your education? Stuff like that. So we went through. Once I realized what was going on, I was like, okay, good. I understand what's going on now. I can answer these questions because I know what to expect. My brain is processing what you're going. Because at first I was like, is the sky blue? Is the cow like what? What are we talking? I go, what are we talking about? Right? You're just supposed to fingerprint and photo, right? Girl. She then asked me, why do I want to renew my card? And it wasn't like, hey, chit chat. It was like, I stand between you and your residency. Answer this question correctly. I got approved downstairs. I was like, what are we? I'm upstairs like, this is just a format. This is just to get a card. I got approved. It's stamped. It's in the system. I have a stamped thing saying I got approved. Boop, boop. What? And I got a little triggered because that's one of the things that the guy in Miami asked. And when I get my answer, he was like, that's not good enough. I need a better answer. So, and in Miami, he would only accept answers in Spanish. That was the other problem in Miami. Like he spoke perfect English, but he would not let me respond to him in English. So like I have to explain why I want to live in Mexico. And I'm not required to speak Spanish to live in Mexico, but you're requiring me to answer these questions in Spanish. And when I give you my basic Spanish answer, because I don't have a lot of Spanish words at this point, you're like, it's not good enough. So I got to dig deeper in my vocabulary for more reasons why I want to live in Mexico. So she started asking, and I was like, I don't know what you're doing, but I don't like this. I legit was like, we're not, I just got approved now. You are the fingerprint lady. Why are you asking me questions? So answer question. And she was like, what else? I'm gonna play your game because I don't know what happens if I tell you to fuck off. I don't know. I don't know what happens. So I'm gonna answer your question, but if they had questions, when I was showing people documents downstairs, that was the time to deal with it. It's not the time to deal with it when I come upstairs. I'm fingerprinting. Last year, all I did was religion, kids, spouse, education, and like career. That's all they ask last year. Now this year, you're right. You want to ask, why do you want to renew? And I was like, I think she said, why do you want to renew your card? And I was like, because I live here. And she was like, what? Why? You're the fingerprint and photo lady. And I don't want to sound like an asshole. But I've been through, I jumped through the hoops. And here you go with more hoops. And I don't like that. So I'm going to answer your question. You're going to give me my card and we're going to walk out of here. I'm never going to see you again. Whatever this is, I don't want it. I don't think you have the power to unapprove me. I've been approved by the people who approve. There was a lady who I think was new. Her boss was helping her. Those are the ones who were whispering back and forth. And then some other lady in the back had to go through everyone's paperwork and jiggity, stamp, right? So it went through 3 people already. You're the fingerprint and photo lady. And not to be disrespectful, but this ain't your job. Whatever this is. I don't know what's happening. No one asked me downstairs why I want to renew. They were just like, you have the paperwork? You have the money? Let's do this. Fingerprints, photos, not questions. Not questions. So I'm like, cool. I can do this. It's fine. It's fine. I think my answer was like, I just love being here. Something like real basic, but I really like my attitude was like, huh, okay, I see. Left the building. Because that was the last step for me. Or curb next, but ready to go. I go and I'm talking to the guy who brought me. And he was like, so before we got in, when I told him about, we'd been messaging back and forth. Before I even got there, he said, I think the guy in Miami wrote something in your file because of what the hoops I had to jump through in I&M the first time. It's like, I think he's like, they have a messaging system, and I think the guy in Miami wrote something in the file. I mean, I came on, I told him what happened upstairs about the lady asking me additional questions, and he was like, the guy in Miami wrote something in your file. He's like, that's what happened. And I was like, okay. Like, also, I'm Black. We talked about that. Never forget that part of it, right? I think Loyal Sky said she wanted to go somewhere where being Black would not be a factor. Ain't no place on earth. That place does not exist. That place does not exist. You want to leave the US and go to a place where being Black is not a factor? There is not a place on earth where being Black is not a factor. It's just not. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. So I always bring with me, not like I don't lead. I lead with my Blackness. Let's be real. But I'm also like not coming into situations assuming you're going to treat me differently because I'm Black. But when something unexpected happens, I have to wonder, is what percentage of what happened is because I'm Black, right? Like, is it like 0%? Right? Like with the waiter, I think that was 0. I think it was like, I'm noticeably different, so I'm probably not from here, so I don't speak English. And so in that case, yes, being Black is like the first tell, right? That this may not be going the way he wants it to go, but am I being treated negatively? It's not because I'm Black as much as I believe. It's because he does not think I speak Spanish well, right? So like, yes, it not being a factor is not a thing anywhere you go. I will tell everybody all day long. Yeah, Danielle, when she asked upstairs, it wasn't nosiness. It was, you need to answer this question for me to continue processing. Like, she stopped what she was doing. She was also messaging people on her phone while we were doing this. And I was like, girl, old lady, what's happening? You're texting while you're processing? There are hundreds of people in this building. It's not like she is one overworked woman running this. No, hundreds of employees in this building. You get a break. I don't know when it is, but you can text it. You don't have, and you have a break between customers. You don't have to text. No one's ever done that to me before, but this lady upstairs in the fingerprints and photos was texting. And I was like, I've never seen anyone in I&M do that while dealing with a customer. But here you go, texting. So there was some like rudeness happening. But whatever. Yeah, it wasn't. If it was nosiness and it was like, hey, why are you here? No. It was. Anyway. So yeah, the guy was like, he wrote something in your file. The Miami guy, I don't know what it is, but the Miami guy wrote something in your file. My mom has never had a problem. So I don't know why. Like when she went, well, she didn't go to, she hired someone who went in, and I saw Joan say that in Guadalajara, it's the same process. Your representative can go in for you. I don't know whether your representative, for what I was doing, my representative couldn't go in, or whether he was like, nah, I'm not going in. I did not get, I asked like, can you do it? And I believe the answer was no, but I don't know if it was that clear or if it was like, that just doesn't happen. I don't know what it was, but any hoodle. I was like, okay, we're moving on. Let's talk about the places where we needed to use discernment. my residency expired the next day. You get like a window, right? But like, I'm not trying to get stopped on the street with an expired card. I don't want when you fly locally, they can domestically, they can ask you for a card. And as those of you know, a lot of you know, I'm going to be in Cancun in early July before the appointment days they were giving out. And so I didn't want to wait for that. I wanted to have something. My guy was like, oh, everybody knows immigration is taking a long time. And so they sent something out to everybody. And so if you get stopped with an expired card, just tell them you have an appointment at immigration. No, no, no. Immigration's not printing anything out for you. So you're not going to like, you just write down the date. There's no printout. There's no place to say, go here and you can see that I have an appointment. No, but just tell them you have an appointment and you'll be fine. And I was like, I'm Black. I will not be running through this country with an expired residency permit without an obvious right to be in the country and think it's going to be all good if I get stopped by immigration. I'll just tell them, no, I have an appointment. It's fine. He was like, yeah, but he's like, no, everybody knows. Everybody knows immigration's taking a long time. So they're not really like, they're not enforcing this. Am I your first Black? I was literally there like, am I his first Black client? Like, you're saying words that make it sound like you've never dealt with Black people before. Because I'm not in the mood to get into this with you because I got up really early this morning to make this happen. I don't feel like it. But telling me that as long as I make an appointment that I will not have any proof of, I'll be fine. Like literally, I don't know if it's still happening, but they were checking at like they've checked my ID. Oh, he said it's not like they check on domestic flights. And I was like, they have stopped me and asked me for my ID before I boarded a domestic flight. And he was like, oh, I'm Black. So I will not be running through the streets without the proper ID. So I was like, so we need to get me in today. Because he goes there all the time. He knows people. He was like, I could probably pull a string or two. I was like, well, the string you need to pull is getting me approved today. Thank you. And yes, we tried to go earlier. Our dates, I couldn't connect with him. But people who had appointments, like the reason I got in that day was because it expired the next day. The first question I asked was, when does it expire? I said tomorrow. And they were like, okay, he wrote something on my paper and he was like, the next day. You go to the today line. That was the only question he asked was, when does it expire? Because it was tomorrow. I got in that day. I wouldn't have gotten in. I know I wouldn't have gotten in if it expired later on. If it expired in like 2 weeks, I would have had an appointment. Or maybe a month. I don't know. But waiting until the last day worked out for me. I think there was something else he said, and I was like, no, I'm a person of color in this country. You won't be doing that. Thanks. I can't remember what it was, but I was like, what the words you're saying make sense. On paper, they make sense. But I'm Black. And so I'm not playing these reindeer games. I need to have legit paperwork. Like, I hear you. You're like, no, it's fine. Everybody knows. And I'm like, unless you know someone down at the immigration detention center too, who can get me out just like that, who can stop me from going just like that, then you need to pull the strings here, right? This is where I need you. If you got strings you can pull, right here. This is where we're doing it. We're not. I said, no, we're not. Mm-mm. Everybody knows. I was like, I have been on too many buses where people are like, show me your papers, right? I'm not, if someone's having a bad, and that assumes, his reasoning assumes that every single person working for immigration, and even at some of the airlines, they'll check your thing and they can stop you from boarding if it's not, if you don't have the right paperwork. If you don't have like a legit thingy, some of the buses weren't selling you tickets. Some of the bus lines wouldn't sell you tickets. And I've been checked by an airline employee who checked everyone who looked like a foreigner in the airline. And if you didn't have it, you weren't boarding the plane. So it assumes that everybody you're going to come in contact with, the bus people, the airline people, the immigration people all over the country, they've all read this memo and they all know it's okay to have an expired ID. I was like, no. Mm-mm. So, no matter what anyone tells you, don't be out here with expired ID in somebody else's country, because if you're watching this, there's a high chance you're Black. I know for some non-Black people watching, hi, this is what we go through. This is what we go through. Because anti-Blackness is everywhere. All right. What's in the comments? What y'all talking about? And whatever questions you have that I haven't already covered about the immigration. Oh, work visa. The lady says, look at your card. There's info on the front and the back, which is why I'm trying to be a little subtle about it. So look at your card. Check to make sure everything's correct. And I look, and I look, and I look. Birthday's right, name is right, country. My nationality is right. I was just like, oh, that's not right. But my nationality is right. And then it says, permiso para trabajar. And I was like, permiso, permission, para, for, trabajar, work. Yeah, baby, it's all right. I was like, it's all right. I skedaddled out of that. I got out of there. I went to the guy and I was like, I didn't read the letter, right? I was like, when you wrote that letter, did you ask for permission to work? He was like, no, you didn't say anything about working. And I was like, but I was like, does this say permission to work? And he was like, yes. I said, how does that happen? He said, someone just typed the wrong thing. He said, someone just clicked the wrong box somewhere. And so now you have a work visa. Friends, I cannot tell you how to replicate it. So I hope you're not watching this video to figure out how to replicate it. The only thing I did, with all the things that went right and left, this is not a video about getting a work visa, which is why I try to be clear about that. It's about how I got mine, not about how you can get yours. I got mine through a fluke. Someone typed the wrong thing. They asked something about working, and I was like, no, I don't work here. So I don't know if that was where things went wrong or what, but wrong. I have permission to work. So if anything comes up and I feel like working in Mexico, I can. Okay. I'm irrationally excited about it because I don't plan on working, but I'm still very excited that I got that. But I really was like, what? A work permit. It's all, yes, everything on this card is accurate. Thank you. Everything. Oh, wait, no, before we got there, before I got approved, it's always, so she's like, sign on the pad. I signed. She's like, no, that signature on the pad. Y'all know these electronic pads are trash. Y'all know this. You get to checkout, you get to the credit card machine, and your signature looks like a 3-year-old scribbled it, no matter what it looks like in real life. So I sign, and she's like, no, it doesn't work. Delete it. So now I'm holding the cord with one hand, because what happened before is the cord fell while I was writing, and so it hit it. Holding the cord with one hand, signing exactly Good to go. Then she gives me 2 pieces of paper to sign. She's watching me sign them. They're just going in files. They're not just 2 pieces of paper to sign. I think I get one and she takes one. I sign them. She watches me sign them and she's like, no, these are not exactly alike. She takes one, rips it up, prints out something else again. And she's like, re-sign it. Y'all play too many games. Like this is the upstairs lady, the fingerprints and photographs lady. It's not exact. It needs to be in Mexico. Your signature needs to be exact. And I was like, if we had had this conversation last year with a person when I signed it on the pad and it looked nothing like my signature because your pad was janky, then maybe I wouldn't have had a problem downstairs. But it wasn't a problem until today downstairs, and now it's a problem up here. But you ripping, like you've seen me sign it, so you know it's being signed by the same person. And you're freaking out. Why? And it's not like they're wildly different. Like I signed one and I signed the other. I think like the big R was a little flatter on one than the other. Everything else was the same. There's a slight difference in the R. And she's like, no, they need to be exactly the same. It's 2 copies of the same document. I take one, you take one. Do they need to be exactly the same? Do they? Do they? You're just being a dick. What is this? What is it? You need a nap? Is it time for a nap? Need lunch? What's going on? What's going on, baby? I don't understand. So yeah, it was that. And like I said, downstairs, they were acting like my signature was proof of identity, but they never asked me to take my mask off to see my face. When both my passport and my ID card have my photo on it. Like, which one do you think is better proof that the same person is involved in both of the, because like they were checking the signature on my ID, which has my photo, against the signature on my passport, which has my photo. But you have not asked for my face. You're just checking signatures. And nowhere in the process, except for when I took the photo, nowhere in the process did they ask to see my face before the approval part. And I'm like, what is the games y'all are playing? And I know, like, it's bureaucracy. They're probably following rules. But just like any bureaucracy, you get to choose which rules you follow and who and with who and how you apply them. So it was just like, when I went downstairs, I told the guy, and he was like, yeah, the Miami guy wrote something in your file. And I'm like, or the lady upstairs was just being a jerk. I don't know. I'll never know. But it's something. So make sure your signature's it needs to be exactly the same. They'll never be seen together. I take a copy, you take a copy. Do they need to be exactly this? Like, I was like, we're doing a lot. You just want to photocopy this page, you can just photocopy it. It's fine. I don't care. What are we doing? What's happening? Go away. So Mary Dean says, it's annoying. It's true, though, in Latin America, that signatures are very detailed. My signature is very basic. Y'all could forge it in like after 3 tries. It's very, very basic. This ain't gonna help. Like, if you don't want to see my face, I don't know what my signature is gonna get you. I don't know. My signature is not proof of anything. It's a couple big letters. Boom. So, yeah. So, a good point here. It's something to do with the level of literacy and fraud. Possibly there's a high level of fraud here. Actually, credit card fraud. But oh, wait. Joan had her signature. And it wasn't. So Danielle is co-signing that too, signature experience. It wasn't that she made me re-sign. It was her attitude in the entire process, right? Like, if she was like, oh, hey, it needs to be exact. Boom, I'll print out again. It was like she acted like I had pissed on her kitten. And I'm like, I don't like, truly, it was like I had offended her because the signatures weren't, she didn't tell me, make sure they're exact. She was just like, sign both of them. I signed. She saw me sign. They weren't exact. And so she freaked out. And it's like, if you, in this entire process, you've been very combative for no reason, because I'm just ready to go and go to lunch, right? I have no fight with you. I just want to get this fingers done. And so it wasn't necessarily that the signatures needed to be exact that was the problem. It was the way she was coming at me about everything, about the questions at the very beginning. It was about the additional question about why I want to renew. I wrote a whole letter. That man wrote a whole letter for me. I don't know what it said, but he wrote a whole letter for me, right? Like, I already handled that part downstairs. I don't have to handle it with you again. So yeah, it was just the whole, she was a lot like the Miami man. You don't seem to love your job, and you're taking it out on me, and I don't know why. I don't know what I've done. I just showed up, and I'm smiling. I'm not being combative. I'm not being aggressive. I'm just trying to get past you to the next step. And so what can we do to never speak to each other again? I would like to never speak to you again. How do we get there? Do we just sign something? Sign something. It has to be exact. So yeah, so it's, don't, if you have your, I saw someone say that they have their appointment coming up and they're scared. Don't be scared. Miami is the only place I've heard of where that guy was just a monster. And he may have just been having a bad day. But like the guys after us were like, he yelled at us. I was like, I'm trying not to laugh, but like, he was terrible to everyone. Like, it's terrible. So that was the process. Whatever questions, I'm gonna run through the comments. Thank you guys. Have you liked this video yet? Give it a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs up. It helps. It helps the algorithm know that, you know, people want to see this. Yeah, don't go to the Miami office. I don't know if he's still there, because that was a year ago. It was a year ago. 13, 14 months ago. But that man, video in the comments. They don't, like I said, they don't allow phones in there, so I don't have any photos or videos of the experience. Someone asked me, like, are you gonna make a video of your experience? I'm like, I could make a video outside the gates, and they might even stop me from doing that. I don't know. If you haven't been to Mexico City lately, to the I&M office, they recently, in the last few months, they put up gates around the whole thing. Before, you could just walk onto the campus, and now they have gates, so you got to wait in line outside. Before, you waited in line, but like, it didn't have quite a prison vibe, and now it's got these big gates around the whole thing. It feels much more government building than it did before. So they also check your bag before you go in. I could have had multiple weapons inside my bag, because I had a coat pretty much on top. I opened it up, a raincoat. I opened it up, and the man saw the raincoat on top of everything else. I was like, okay, go. And I was like, you're not going to ask me to move so you can see? He was like, okay. Like, if actually, have you guys seen that meme where the guy, like the old guy's outside of a stadium or something, he's patting people down, and it's like the ladiest pat down ever? It's like, That's what the guy at the gate, when he looked at me, when they had to look in your purse and all your bags, that's what it was like. It was like, okay, go. Okay. All right. I'm going through the comments. Siobhan said I had the hardest time. I did have a hard time last time. Yeah, don't be scared. Don't be scared, y'all. Self-care mindfully, going to Orlando. You got this. You have the paperwork. You have everything you needed. You're going to be all right. All right. Loyal Sky, do you think locals are beginning to resent expats? Yes. Not everybody. I think there's, I think the locals that are beginning to resent expats are the locals that are in economic competition with the expats, right? And so there's like Mexico has a very, I would describe it as a thin middle class. But I'm not an economist. Somebody else might have a different thought about that. But where for the people who are competing for the same apartments, for the same restaurant reservations, right? Those people are upset. I think that the people who are doing significantly better than the majority of the expats that are coming, and significantly worse than the majority of the expats are coming, I have not seen much from them, right? I don't think they care too much because it's not impacting them. But the people who, like I said, are in economic competition, people are seeing rents go up, but the places they're seeing rents go up for and the neighborhoods aren't the neighborhoods where rent are going up. Yes, people from Mexico City might live there, but a lot of the Mexicans that live there are also from other places in Mexico, right? And so, like, are they gentrifiers too? Right? Because if someone moves from Idaho to New York with a bag of cash, right? And they go to Harlem and they're like, why are all these people in the streets making all this noise? What can I do? Let me call the police and shut it. You know what I mean? Like you can be a gentrifier in your own country. We're used to seeing that in America. And so I see a lot of people in my building. I stopped talking to strangers in my building. But the people on my floor, none of them are from Mexico City. Not a single one. No one that I've talked to. I don't think I've talked to anyone in the building who's actually from the city. They're all from other cities. And so, yes, I think there's a lot of gentrification happening in Mexico City. And I think expats are an easy and identifiable target, but it's not all coming from expats. It's not. It's a lot of Mexicans who aren't local to Mexico will be angry about expats, about like foreigners coming here. But it's like, girl, you just got here last week. Like, you've been here 2 years. Like, do you have a bigger claim to this city being in this country than someone else from another country does? Not being from Mexico City, I'm not going to have an opinion about that. I'm just going to say the way it looks like to me is that there are a number of gentrifiers. Some are foreign, some are domestic. So, but yeah, no, the locals aren't happy with the locals who are in competition for these same products and services aren't happy. But some of them aren't even local. Ooh, all right. Pack your patience. Wherever you're going, like, no, but if you have to deal with anything in Mexico, specifically Mexico City, I'm going to say Mexico in general, what you think is going to happen versus what is actually going to happen, apples and oranges, baby. Buffalo and anteaters. Like, it's not the same. Unicorns and werewolves, just different things, complete different. What's it going to be? Who knows? Who knows? We don't know. You just show up and hope for the best. That's just something you get used to. All right. In the comments. I need to drink a bottle of tequila after all of this. I'm not drinking alcohol right now. And really, it's been challenging. The biggest challenge is I'm also not eating dessert. It was a terrible decision. I made it. Terrible decision. But it's where I am. A couple more weeks. My apartment number is 4 digits. And every time I'm like going to the gym. They ask like, what's your apartment number? I tell them. The guy who's normally down there stops asking me now because he knows the number I say. Like I'm like a 2-digit number and then 1 digit and 1 digit. I don't say it the Spanish way. Mil is not in it when I say it. It's not. I'm going to give you the digits. And maybe some of them will be in combination numbers, right? But not, I'm not up to the 4 digits yet. I'm not there. Nope. All right. Oh, I didn't realize that, excuse me, the NIF is proof that you're spending money. But, smart. Portugal has it down. There's a lot to be desired about the Mexican immigration process and the way it impacts the country. But a lot of those things that are to be desired are government run. So I don't even think I'm allowed to criticize the government. I know I'm not allowed to protest. As a temporary resident, you're not allowed to protest. And so I try not to say too many terrible things about the government because, like, is it a protest? Right? Like, if I theoretically, hypothetically, if I said the government is trash on the internet, what is that? Like, I don't mean that. I'm not saying, like, that's a very broad thing to say. It's something I feel comfortable saying about the US. The US government is trash, but I don't know enough about the Mexican government. Anyway, and so there are a lot of things that they could do better to slow down the gentrification of the city, right? Or like slow down the influx of immigrants. They could do a lot of things to improve the process so that it was clear that we're spending money here, which is of value, supposedly. But they don't do it. And who am I to do it? Like, I can't change what the government does. So, ooh, Nini did Exodus Summit last year. We haven't watched the videos. Girl, got to watch them videos. Watch the videos. You gonna quit your job. You gonna quit your job. You gonna quit your job. Everybody quits their job. Sooner or later, you start watching these videos, you gonna quit your job. I know it. Yeah, I said, Kenny asked, what do you say if you're not employed? So you say retired. I say retired. Because either I needed to tell them who I work for out of the country because I did not have a work permit, or I need to be retired. I just tell them retired and they don't care because I'm not supposed to have permission to work here. And yet I have it. I have it. I have it. They sure did. They sure did. Why do you want to renew your card? Because I pay rent here. And if I don't, I have to leave, right? My landlord wants me to renew can she come down here and just do the process for me? She wants me to renew. So I will continue to pay her rent. Because if I have to leave, she's not getting no more money from me, right? Like, but why is I live here not a good enough reason to renew my card? I live here. I pay rent here. I go to the grocery store. I employ people here. Like that, it's not okay. All right. Oh, someone asked, I don't see it now, but I know I saw it before. Someone asked if the visa was for 3 years or 4 years. It is for the temporary visa. 1 year first, and then you can renew for temporary for multiple years. And so I did it for 1 year. And I had to renew either I had to leave, right? Or I had to renew for 1 year or 3 years. I don't know if I can renew for 2. That's probably a thing. I probably could have renewed for 2 years. The guy next to me was renewing. I think the guy next to me is renewing for 2 years, but I was trying not to be in his business because I needed to focus in on what they were doing. So you can renew for a number of years after your first year. up to 3 years. And then that makes it the 4-year visa. And then I can get permanent. Or I can move somewhere else. We'll see. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah. If you're going to work with an immigration person, be very clear about what they'll do and what they won't do. The man, I did not do anything besides show up. And I was like, I can live with that. I'd like you to go inside, but if you're saying that's not how the process is working right now, okay. And he waited around in case I had any questions. I couldn't message him outside, but I could go outside and ask him a question if I needed to. And he was supposed to go in to do something for a client who does not live here, a client who's somewhere else. I don't know if it was the same thing. I think it was a work visa, so I don't know if that process is different. I don't know, but he was going inside for somebody else. I didn't know that until I was there that day. And he got there by 7, got me in line. I got in line with him at 8. I got inside around 9. He was supposed to had 10 o'clock appointment, but something was wrong, so he couldn't do his 10 o'clock appointment. So at 10 o'clock he was done, but he stayed until 12 when I left to make sure that I was okay. And that felt nice. It felt nice to have someone, like, if I don't understand what's happening or something goes wrong, he's like, you can always come outside. I'll be right here. It was nice. So, like, I feel like that was worth it, right? Being transparent, I paid him $100, 2,000 pesos. So I paid him the equivalent of $100 to do the paperwork for me, which wasn't a lot. But the last time I did the paperwork, which was longer, the original paperwork was more complex. I got kicked out. Not kicked out. I had to go fix it twice. And our system is not very system's not very easy. I didn't think it was. So I was like, somebody else who can do the paperwork for me, who will stand in line so I don't have to get there. People start lining up at 5 a.m. That's why I didn't want to wait in line. People start lining up at 5 a.m. I was in the first line. I was like I would say probably like the 40th person when we moved to the second line, the today line, I was probably somewhere between 15th and 20th person. We got inside at 9 and I got seen around 10:45. So with 15 to 20 people ahead of me, I waited almost 2 hours to be seen. So, all right. Sometimes I carry my passport and my residency card. Sometimes I just my residency card. Like when I'm doing errands around town, I'm not carrying my passport. But if I'm going to the airport, even if I'm not flying internationally, if I'm flying domestically, I still carry my passport with me. If I'm doing anything, like if I'm probably going to another city, I might carry my passport with me. But traveling around town, like going to the grocery store, it's just my ID card. If that's how I end up in immigration jail, that's just what it is, I guess. I don't know. All right. Yes. These are things. Yes. Stacy was ready. She had her stuff ready to go. They didn't have plastic to make the card. So I talked to my guy about that. I was like, if I cannot get seen today, I need to get travel permission. I need to get permission to leave the country. So I need to go back home for some stuff. So if I need to go home, I can do that. And he was like, okay. He's like, I'm pretty sure I can get that if we can't get that today. If we can't get your card today, I'm pretty sure I can get permission to leave the country. So if you're in the process of getting your temporary visa or your permanent visa, and you've come into Mexico, you cannot leave and come back in until you get it done. If your visa is expired, you cannot leave and come. If you're gone, you can come back after it's expired. There's a number of days you got to check on that. But leaving and coming back, you need permission from immigration to do that. Mm-mm. All right. I'm in the comments. Yes, I did feel like getting the work visa was a reward for all they put me through. Thank you. I don't know which one of you pressed the wrong button, but I will accept it. Thank you. All right. Yeah, Anastasia, don't be nervous for your appointment. It'll be fine. You're gonna get someone who's really happy and positive. I just be in there like, really? Let's do this. Let's do this. I don't know why you're doing this. I'll be the positive one today because we both not gonna be nasty to each other. We're not. There's no point in that. So let's just be positive, and I'm gonna be positive, and either you'll accept it or you won't, and you didn't. It's fine. Mm-mm. The fact that your consultant made you practice your signature is hilarious to me. Last time, the guy was like, "Sure, that's your like the signature looked nothing like mine because of the pad. Not a problem." He was like, "Whatever." But this year, apparently, they're cracking down. All right. I missed something. Oh yeah. Fairy tale ending. Don't go to Miami. Not if you can help it. I didn't know there was my consulate in Little Rock. So the consulates, when you're doing it on the American side, the consulates are all different. What they're asking for, what your experience is like. Most of the people I talk to have a really great experience at the consulates they go to. Like really, like they were positive, they were helpful, they photocopied things for me, like that kind of experience. Whereas my guy was like, if you go outside and get hit by a car, I'm not gonna like, okay. He was very much like, and then we met the head of the consulate that day in the elevator, and he was like happy. I knew when I saw him in the elevator, I was like, this is the man that's in charge. First of all, you can smell power on a man. You know it. You know that. But it was also like, you're the first like truly like happy person I've seen all day. You not dealing with no BS. You're in charge. I was like, he was like, yeah, this is my whatever he said. He was like, yeah, basically I'm in charge of the whole thing in Miami. And I was like, I spotted you. I've dealt with your other employees. I know a man who was elevated above the BS, and that was very much you. He was like, hey, I hope you had a great experience. And I was like, I went to immigration. I told him what I did, and he was like, okay. Like, I think he knew. I think they know. The man's a terrorist. Okay, so no bag check or pat down in QRO. So they don't pat down. I was just using the pat down as an example. They don't pat down here, but they do bag check. And you have to like, I don't know what they're looking for. I mean, besides weapons, I don't know what they're looking for. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, y'all are sharing information. Christopher went through the regularization process at the INM office in Mexico. It was only slightly more intimidating than registering a car. Christopher, are you Black? Are you? Because no, like literally no offense. But if you're not, your experience is like the helpfulness of your experience is limited, right? Because you probably also haven't been asked on a bus why you were granted residency. Like I was. Like, am I a tourist? Am I like, these words weren't used, but it was the implication. Am I a good like immigrant into the country or a bad one? Right? Like what was the basis for getting permission to live here? I'm not sure that they're asking non-Black people that. So, I'm glad you had what seems like a good experience. But if you're not Black, it's not helpful for most of my audience. Appreciate you, though. Yeah, you can put your phone in your bag. You just can't have it out. And there's police in there, so the police will walk around and be like, "Put your phone down." Like they're not going to do anything to you if you have it out besides tell you to put it away. And if you ignore them, I don't know what they do. The only time I've seen a phone in use in immigration is when a kid was playing a game on it. And I think the police were like, whatever keeps your kid quiet. But like adults on phones, doesn't happen. Miss Weiss went to the consulate in North Carolina. Very easy, Miss Afro friendly. Yeah, I don't know what you're afraid of, so I can't really help here. Rich? I live here daily and I don't feel physical, social, or emotional fear here. So I don't know what the fear would be. Right? Like I don't know what it is. We all have different stuff that hangs us up. Okay, so Miss Weiss says, plan to do the second half in Mazatlan. As you heard, the process there was easy and no need for an appointment. First, it's best to do the second half where you're actually going to live because you're going to ask you for an address. And if your address changes, your permanent address changes, they're going to expect you to go and re-register or whatever the local place is. And so if you're like, I'm just cruising through Mazatlan, but I'm really going to be in, I don't know, Guadalajara, go ahead and get it done in Guadalajara, right? So you don't have to go there and make a change later on. And then the second half of this is no need for an appointment. In Mexico, that's in Mexico City, that changes daily. I don't know if it's going to change daily in Mazatlan as well. I had an appointment before. I did not have an appointment the first time because I could not figure out their appointment system. Their appointment system was a mess. I could not figure it out, so I couldn't get an appointment. I just walked in and they were like, boom, okay, done. And this time I also didn't have an appointment, but it was expiring the next day. All right. No, I don't. The security officer who waved me into the building, they just don't check hard. Like it wasn't about me. The fact that he was like, I'm not checking anything. I'm just gonna let y'all in. I'm just like open the bag and look. That was for everybody. It's just a very lazy security check. It wasn't personal for me. Who are you giving your phone number to, Adelia? Share with the class. Who are you giving your phone number to? Who thinks you sound ridiculous? Inquiring minds and such. Okay. Y'all got all the questions about consulates. I don't know. The last time I was on a bus and they checked for ID, they only went to one person and they checked someone who I thought I would have believed to be Mexican. I struggle with that because Latino, Hispanic, like it's all kind of hard to tell sometimes. But they only checked one person. Now, Adelia and I both thought it seemed like it was intentional that they only checked one person, and it seemed to be a random check. They only checked one person, and it was someone who did not look to be a foreigner. And I think they intentionally did not choose someone who looked to be a foreigner. Adelia and I both thought the same thing. Like, oh, that was on purpose. I think you guys are trying to rehab all the rumors of people checking foreigners on purpose and only foreigners. I feel like you guys are trying to push back against that. So the last time I was on a bus, I didn't get checked, but someone else got checked. But the time the time I was on an ID, they did check me. They checked me harder than the other people, right? Waiters, stuff like that. Like on a day to day, I don't sense anti-Blackness. On a day to day, it does not impact me. If it's there, it does not impact me, right? Like waiters, the waiter story I told in the beginning of this is like the closest I've gotten to a waiter not being like super gracious and lovely, except for a story I haven't told y'all yet about Adelia taking me to a place in Tepoztlan, which I will tell you one day when I recover from a trauma. It's not trauma. It's not traumatic. But generally, all the people in the service industry are like, you got money? Sit down. Sit down. The place I went, especially if you're going to places where tourists go, they're used to seeing people that look like you all the time. There are, like, this is not a place where there's like one Black tourist. This is a place where there are hundreds of Black tourists in tourist places every day. And so, yeah, generally, if you go, like the place I went to was literally like, it's deep in the city and it's local. It was locals only in there, which is why I think he was like, if it's in Spanish, I'm not dealing with it. I'm just not. And when he realized I spoke Spanish, he came over and he was really friendly and he came back a couple of times. But it was before he realized I spoke Spanish, he was like, no. But other than that, I haven't had any like what I thought were waiters or really any staff people being rude to me because they think because they know I'm Black, right? They don't think, they know. No. So Fairy Tale ending. Has anyone had an issue with the number of days they were in Mexico when renewing? I started the process, but just heard my mom was terminal, so we back and forth to the US more. This is a hard one. And if Adelia is still here, I'm going to ask her to weigh in. But I think it depends on what city you go to. Mexico City is a city of 20-something million people with one INM office, with one immigration office. So it's busy. If you're in a smaller city, it might not be like that. But the number of days you have to wait or whether you can get an appointment right away or if they push you back. Like I said, I went on June 9th and they were scheduling appointments for July 20th, right? So if you go to the wrong office, that's the kind of thing that could happen. You may be able to explain to someone that you need to leave, so you need permission to go. But I think if you're in the first step of the second half of your Mexican residency, I wouldn't recommend. You might have a problem. You might have a problem getting back and forth. So I'd probably, if I were you, I would definitely probably try to work with someone who can help you. All right. I don't know, girl. I think if it was like my husband and child live down here, right? Or like if I'd previously had a work permit and I'm coming for work, I don't know what the acceptable reasons are because every time I answer the question, it's like that wasn't good enough. And then my next answer is pretty much just leave me alone. Like I've answered, it's some version of like, okay, you don't like that? Like I said, why do you live here? She said, why do you want to renew? And I said, because I live here. And she was like, no, give me more. And I was like, because I love living here. This is where I get ornery. I get ornery when I start getting questioned about bullshit. So like I want to renew because I live here versus I want to renew because I love living here. It's the same. But I think she knew she didn't have the power to do anything. The people who are on the approving team approved me. So what's she gonna do? What are you gonna? You're gonna tell me to go, that you're not going to issue me the card? I think she just felt like messing with me. That's what she did. But I could not tell you the acceptable reason. I think there are like very valid reasons, but wanting to be like, I told the guy in Miami, I was like, because I love being down there. And he was like, that's not good enough. And I think I was like, well, I love the food and the people are so warm and the culture and something else. And he was like, I think then he was like, that's still, he's like, everybody loves the food. And I said something else. But it was the same kind of like, I like the country. What do you want from me? Right? Like, what I don't know. My answer has been very much like, I don't know what the answer is, but I'm gonna keep saying stuff until you leave me alone. I'm gonna say basic stuff in Spanish to you. Like, I like the country. I like being here. What are you looking for? I don't know. I think there are, like I said, there are going to be really good answers that some people have. But if you're not coming down here for a very specific reason, like my grandmother has lived in Oaxaca for 92 years and I want to be with her for the rest of her life, like I don't have that reason. I like the food and the weather. I like the weather and I don't want to live in the US anymore. And like the energy, I think the thing that got through to him was like the energy of the city excites me, as I think what I said, some version of that in Spanish. Not clear, very poor, but I think that's what I said. And he was like, okay. And the lady in this time, I really was like, because I live here, that's not good enough, because I love living here. Please, let's do this. Just stamp, clickety click on your keyboard, baby. Like, what are we? All right. They do not care. They legit don't care. You can be on as long as you want. If you need to renew, you need to come back at some point. And I think there's a window in which you have to come back to renew. But especially if you have a 4-year, you could be gone for 3 years. They don't care. Which is why one of the reasons people like residency down here is you don't have to thingy. All right. What address can I use if I'm scouting and not living there? You could use the address of an Airbnb. Ask your person for they often ask for proof of where you're going to live, like a utility bill. So if you ask your landlord for a utility bill for residency purposes, a lot of people are familiar with that. And that's how a lot of people I know do it. So it might not be a problem. You should have something in I want to say in Mexican, but that doesn't I didn't mean in Spanish. I really mean like something in Mexican that explains the address, because addresses here are not very clear. And so if you have like a phone bill, not a phone bill, some kind of utility bill, that's a really good way to know, but the address you're using is actually written correctly. I brought utility bills with me when I went to go do it, and they didn't ask me for any proof of address. They just asked me what the address was. So, but no matter what address you use, if you have another address later on, you have to go to the immigration office in your region and go change your address. All right. Hey, Jade. Okay, just Fatima took her 14 business days to renew hers in Campeche. And was that from the time, like, was that include an appointment, or did the process take 14 days? Because it's not a 14-day process. So I'm curious about that. Tell Friday. Yay. I'm so happy for you. That's exciting. It'll be fine. Girl, don't worry about it. You got this. Just go in. Have all the paperwork you need. Sometimes I'll ask you for stuff that you're like, girl, what? I think it was the Boston office that asked someone I know for a letter from their employer saying they would continue to be employed by the company when they moved to Mexico. And I'm like, US employers aren't promising future employment. That's not a thing they're doing, right? Like, generally, unless you work for yourself and you're writing a letter on your own behalf, US employers are not promising that this person will continue to work for me tomorrow. much less at a later date when they move to Mexico. And they're not sending that to a government agency. So sometimes it's rare, but sometimes they can ask for things. You can always do what Adelia did, which is if you go to one and you don't like what's happening, take your papers back and walk out. And go to make an appointment at another one later on and do it there. Take your papers back. If you're in the middle of it and you're like, this is some crazy, like I could have done that in Miami. I could have been like, this dude is crazy rude. Let me take this back and go. But I want to go into Orlando. Let's be real. I was like, we doing this. I have everything you're asking for. You're going to say yes. You're just going to make me jump through extra hoops, like knowing my passport number and answering all these questions in Spanish. Sure, I'll jump through your hoops. But you want to prove me. So let's do this. We hula hooping. Let's do this. All right. All right. Angela's moving days Friday. You got this, baby. Very excited for you. All 5 of you. Very excited. All right. Bum, 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 bum. Let's see. That sounds familiar. That like the way they were checking was, I think they said was unconstitutional. But okay, Carla, if you're Black, I don't know if you are, but if you are, that just because some government agency said something can't happen doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But yeah, I think Adelia and I talked about that a couple weeks ago. I think so. Yeah, I mean, have a plan in advance of what you're going to say when they ask you why you want to move to Mexico. I have been dreaming about life in Guadalajara since I was a 2-year-old, and I watched movie. So have an answer besides I like living here, because that was not enough. All right. I pop in your channel. Manny says I pop in your channel. I'm not flying. Are you a flight attendant? Are you a pilot? What are you doing? What's happening? And it's just amazing to me reading the comments, seeing that all of your work has helped more women move out of the country. Yay! Yes, I love it when y'all do this. I love it when y'all quit your jobs that you don't love. I love it when you move to a place that brings you happiness. Your life is out there. You can go from burnout to bliss. .co. I need a better ad. But that's what I got right now. All right. Yeah. So not every consulate's going to ask you for an employee letter. Some consulates are just like, we like asking for extra. So. Oh, okay. So just Fatima, who got her process done in 14 days in Campeche, there was no appointment. She walked in, completed the paperwork, made payment, and then waited for their response. So the 14 days, I guess, was from dropping off the paperwork, talking to them, and picking up the card. The card is the same day process in Mexico because you go upstairs to the lady, fingerprint, photo, additional questions. All right. What haven't I answered? I saw someone asking for the contact info. I'm going to ask him how I can share his contact info and drop it in the description of this. How he would like people to contact him, because I only have his like Facebook account and I don't want to just boop boop. So let me ask him if he's okay with me sharing that on the internet first. But there are a number of people. Oh, here's what I want to talk about. Because Homeboy talked about regularization earlier. The regularization is a process by which if you were here typically the year before, if you visited the year before and you're here in this calendar year and your tourist visa has expired, you can turn that tourist visa into a permanent visa to live here, permanent residency, federal. It was something they created during the pandemic when people were actually stuck here. People were like, oh, them flights ain't going back to the US. So what am I going to do? Because I've been here for like 2 months, longer than I'm supposed to be here. Or people who were going back, who were living here on tourist visas, going back and forth, they weren't able to do that anymore. And so one of the first things they did before they started cracking down on the number of amount of time people could be here on tourist visas, the first thing I did was they started this regularization process, where regularization for them means like they don't really talk about illegal immigrants here. You're like, you're regular, you have a regular status, or you're irregular. So, right. So if you, what we would know as what some might call illegal in the US, right? No one's illegal on stolen land, but what some might call illegal in the US is irregular here. So you go through the process of regularization to go from irregular to regular. Now, if something that came up in the pandemic, it's something that still exists now. The rules are going to be different in different places. Talk to my immigration consultant, and he said that immigration in Mexico City is cracking down on it now and applying much more scrutiny than they did before, because of what I already knew. People are scamming. People are trying to scam the system. For regularization, you don't need you don't need to show savings or income, right? You're here and you're irregular. Let's make you regular. Boom, right? And so the savings requirement, the financial solvency requirement, isn't there for that. And so some people, not everyone, occasionally in these Facebook groups, I see comments and I'm like, wait, what's happening here? Screenshot it, send it to Adelia, like, do you see is what I think is happening actually happening? Sometimes it was. And what I've seen more of is people who either can't meet the financial solvency requirement, or which is, I have this amount of money saved, or I have a job that pays me this amount of money. They're not meeting that requirement. Or maybe they don't want to show the government the paperwork. Y'all know there are people who are like, I'm not telling any government anything about my money. I don't know what it is. Various varieties of those things happening. They're like, okay, so I came to Mexico on vacation last year. I'm going to come to Mexico on vacation this year. I'm intentionally going to overstay my visa, and then I'm going to go to immigration to get regularized. Friends, you're Black. Never forget. That is a process that might work, right? It was not, the regularization process was not made to be a shortcut to getting residency. It was a way to get people who were stuck residency, right? Because y'all ain't going to, like, these flights ain't flying. People are stuck. They can't do what they would normally do. So let's just help them out, right? That don't work anymore. So what people are doing are like, I'm coming down. I'm going to overstay and be illegal. I'm going to be illegal alien in this country, and then just go to immigration and be like, hey, I'm here. I'm a regular. Let's go through the regularization process. I easily picked up that people were scamming the process by doing that. Immigration easily picked up that people were scamming the process by intentionally doing that. And so they've started cracking down on it. And my immigration person won't even do them anymore. He's like, I do not do regularization. I used to help people with regularization, but I don't do it anymore because it was like he was like it was too much like scamming. And there's too much scrutiny on it now, so you have no idea whether it's going to get approved or not. And so if you never know whether it's going to get approved or not, even if you followed all the rules, even if you're not scamming, if there's an increased amount of scrutiny and you don't know whether it's going to get approved or not, and you're Black, make different choices. So like the last time I saw a woman do that, she was like, I'm coming in and I'm going to do it. And then I saw her post in a later group, but she couldn't do it because she got 180 days on her visa and she didn't have enough time to be in Mexico for 180 days to overstay. She couldn't be here. She needed to leave earlier. She couldn't stay for day 181. I think she planned on being down here for like 10 days. She was coming up, I think it was 10 days, something like that. It was less than 14 days. She was going to come down here. She was going to overstay. And then like the day after she was going to go, or I think that's what her plan was. The day after she was going to go to immigration. The immigration agent gave her too many days and she was like, I'm not getting residency. Because the first time I saw her, she's like, I'm kind of upset because the agent gave me too many days and I could not figure out what was going on. And then I saw another post from her and I was like, oh, you're refusing to go through the channels that most of us go through. And so you thought you were going to come down here on vacation and scam your way into residency. It didn't work because that's not the process. That's not what you're supposed to do. Like, and I get it. I get why if people see a shortcut, they want to take it. But like, if your shortcut involves being irregular in a country that will put you in immigration detention, that from my understanding is nasty. Maybe that's not the shortcut for you. And maybe she was willing to do it. But I'm like, no. You're not going to catch me on my way to immigration and I end up in detention, right? Like, you're not going to catch me getting in an Uber on my way or like the day before I get, no. I'm not doing that. There's a process. Also, people think that living here is cheaper than it is. And so I am not saying that the economic requirements are easy to meet because everybody's at a different economic level, right? Some things might be easy for one person, they're not going to be easy for another. I'm not saying they're easy to meet, but I'm saying that the country wants you to have a certain amount of money or a job in the country before you move down. They want to know that you can meet certain requirements. And a lot of times, the people, especially before when they were doing the 180-day FMM and people were just living on that, leaving, doing a border run and coming back, the people who struggle here the most are the people who don't have enough money to support themselves, right? Like that is the biggest struggle I hear in Mexico above anything else. People come down, most people who leave aren't like, I didn't like any part of the country. It's not like they're like, I didn't like the community. It's like, I can't afford to live the life I want there, especially if you can't work or if you're working under a table, which is probably going to pay you peanuts, or even if you're working legally, a lot of these jobs ain't paying nothing. So Adelia, who is truly she's my news. I don't have to watch her news. She just tells me everything. I love it. I feel like I haven't called her a hater today. Have I called her a hater today? We watched food for like hours yesterday, so she's in my heart today. Anyway, she told me that recently the monthly income for a police officer in Mexico City has been increased to just over 10,000 pesos a month. That is a monthly income of $500. plus a little bit. Monthly income of $500. So coming down here, and these are the people they give guns to. I think they might have to provide their own gun. I don't know what the gun situation is. They probably give them guns because guns are hard to get here. But these are the people entrusted with our safety. They're paying them just over $500 a month. You don't want to work in a restaurant down here. You don't. Mm-mm. You don't. You don't want to. You don't want to. You don't want that. So Teresa says they have to buy their own guns, and I thought about that the other day because I saw a woman with a gun, and it looked janky. It looked like it was a gun, like a handgun from '72. Yeah, it was all like, it was black except like where it was next to her body was all like, it was all faded off. Like all the black was gone and it was just like chrome. And I was like, y'all bring your own guns to work, huh? Y'all do. This is not a government issued gun, is it? Mm-mm. Oh, Jesus. First of all, Teresa be knowing everything. She also would ask, first of all, she's going to speak to an officer about anything. She will ask an officer if she can hold her gun, and wouldn't a noble, it's so hard. There's so many things in the sentence that individually are hard. There's so many things in the sentence that are so hard to understand. But like, if you know Teresa, it makes perfect sense. Yes, I asked him how his gun, and it was wooden with no bullets. Well, what would the bullets do in a wooden gun? Nothing. So yeah, so this was not the point of this. We got kind of sidetracked. But yeah, Adelia said she saw a post where the restaurant job was, I guess, 4,000 pesos a month with the possibility of tips of another 4,000. So over the course of a month, you might make 8,000 pesos, $400. And they're not working 3-hour days. They're not working 4-hour days. They're probably not working 8-hour days. They're probably working closer to 12 or more. 12 or more. Mexico has the longest working hours. People work more. I don't know if it's the number of days a week they're working or if the number of hours a day they're working, but like they work more than anybody else. You don't want to come down here and get a job. So the point was, if you do not have the financial solvency requirements, if you're not meeting their requirements, there's a risk that comes by intentionally shortcutting your way in. And I see it play out a lot. We see people come here and be like, I got to move back because I can't afford it, all the time. Saw some YouTubers do it the other day because they thought YouTube would pay all their bills. It does not. If I moved here relying on YouTube to pay my bills, I would have moved home a year ago. That's not. New channel. Well, they created a channel or started making more content when they came here. It did not sustain them. You need a money plan. Oh, wait. Over 16 hours a day for a waiter, making $4,200 guaranteed, maybe another $200 in tips a month. 16 hours a day and 6 days a week. Y'all don't want to do this. People come all the time and they're like, how do I get a job in Mexico? You do not want a job in Mexico. If you're a teacher at a school and they are importing you and you understand all the rules of the road before you get down here, cool. But to get down here and look for a job here, it's not. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Okay, so yeah, these aren't the locals that are mad about gentrification. The police officers aren't particularly mad. It's the people who are making more than this because they're not in competition for the same apartments. Remember we talked before how like the part of a gentrification conversation, I think this might have been last week, part of a gentrification conversation is like you can't tip as much as you want because it makes the locals mad because it kind of prices them out. But it's like, which local are we talking about? Right? Which local are we talking about? Are we talking about the waiter who's worked 16 hours a day and may take home $400 a month? Or are we talking about the local who's in competition to eat at the same restaurant? Those are the locals that are mad. And they may not be locals. They're probably from a different city. Not my business. That part is not my business. I'm clear about that. I'm not going to say that they don't have a right to be upset, but a lot of, especially in Mexico City, a lot of the people who are mad about, I'll say it like this, a lot of the people who are mad about foreigners in Mexico City have not spent their whole life in Mexico City. You can tell. Just an FYI. Anyway, it's a choice you have to make. So if you come down here and you want to work here, you're not getting to work. Like my work visa that I have now, this work permit, someone miskeyed something. Like if you're working in a place that requires you to have a work permit, and all legit places are going to require you to have a work permit, you need to come down here with that job already. Or get permanent residency. But there's no easy answer. It's really hard. Like living here, which is why it's part of the process, right? That's why their requirements are you have a certain amount of money saved or a certain amount of coming in from outside every month, because you can't work here, right? And they know you can't work here, and they're not going to change the rules so you can work here. So you need to be getting money from outside of this economy. So yes, it's challenging, but that's also why I say if you don't meet their requirements and you're trying to get around them, it's something to rethink, because you're not gonna end up making money in this economy or making enough to live a comfortable life. I mean, Greta is happy with the stock market, I guess. I've stopped looking. I don't want to know. Wake me up when this is over. I don't know. So this is about her experience in immigration. Every step I go, there's something atypical happening. There could be note on my file. Not to trust me. I don't know what it is. I don't know. All right. Let's see. What else? Child. I was telling Delia, I rode a bus home the other day at like 6, packed. It was when I was leaving the restaurant, so I was deeper into a very, very local, you don't come to this neighborhood unless you live here neighborhood, right? That's where I was. You don't come here. If you don't live here, you just pass through. I stopped, hopped off the bus, went to the restaurant, left again. On the way home, I would say 95% of the men on the bus were asleep. 6 p.m. They are on the bus, knocked out, unconscious. Now, the women, who I'm guessing were just as tired, were not asleep. And we all know why. We're not sleeping on public transportation like that. I think there may have been like one in like a corner that was asleep. But the women were like, we just gonna make it to the. A lot of them, I think, were headed to the train. They all got off right next to a train station. But we're not sleeping. We sleep when we get home. But the men, out like a light, which also reminded me like of those areas in life that it's like it's harder to be generally harder to be a woman at work than a man in almost every workplace. But like also the fact that like men looking around, men feel safe to sleep on the bus while these women are like, we awake. We're not sleeping on this bus. I'm not going to sleep right here. Like how much harder even like your commute is, right? Like as a woman, your commute is even harder and less relaxing than a man. Like I got to go to work for less pay and more BS, and my commute is worse, child. Even using the same transportation system, my commute is worse because you get to go to sleep, and I got to be aware because things happen. Nothing's ever happened to me on transportation here, but historically, sexual harassment on trains and buses has been a problem in Mexico City. They have big signs now like, we gonna take your ass to jail. They have women-only seats on buses and women-only cars and trains. I typically only ride in the woman-only train, on the car, on the woman-only car on the train, unless I'm rushing to get on a train for some reason and the men's is generally empty and if I can get a seat. If I have to stand up body to body in a train in Mexico, I'm gonna be late before I get in a in a car with a man. And not like I said, now there's a lot more awareness about it. I think it's a significantly smaller problem than it used to be, but I'm not putting myself in that situation. I'm gonna be in the woman's car. I'll walk down to the end. If I miss this train while I'm walking down to the end to get to the woman's car, I miss the train. But I'm not doing body to body with men if there's a different choice. So, yes, you're working 16 hours a day in a job that's probably crappy, and then you got to come home, and even your commute is worse than the men's. Yeah. Anyway, that was a big old sidebar. Kirkland asked me to go to Topito. I've been to Topito a few times. I've been with a tour guide. I've been by myself. I've been with Adalia. No, I've only been to I've been to Lagonia a couple times. Topito, I've only gone for tour guide, and not because I don't feel like it's safe. I'm aware that Topito is a large outdoor market. My reason for not going by myself is it's very big. It feels overwhelming, and it feels like the kind of place where you could easily get lost. Get lost is in like, where are the exits? What's going on? Apparently, it does not have a super great safety record. I didn't feel unsafe there. I'm very aware. I did not feel unsafe in Topito, but I was glad I was there with the tour guide. It was a taco tour. It wasn't like a tour guide of the market. It was food. Y'all know me. Y'all know why I'm putting on pants. It's food. I went to Topito not lately. It was a while ago. I feel safe. I would go back to Topito. I think I'd go back to Topito without a tour guide if I knew what I was going for versus like just going. I think now in a pandemic, large numbers of people when I don't need to just isn't mine. It's a huge thing. So this market is a place where people drink a lot, right? They like it's like eating and drinking and inside, but it's like row after row after row after row after row, and they're long. And if you don't know where you're going, or you can't find your way, if there's a moment where you don't feel unsafe, I feel like I'm not sure how long it would take me to get to what I considered safety. It, if something unrelated to me popped off in Tepito, even if I felt like that danger is not my danger, I'm not sure how long it would take me to feel safe there. Like how far I would have to travel, what that would be like, because it's just throngs of people and row after row after row. And they say it's dangerous. I'm not discounting that. I'm just saying that like I did not feel danger. All right. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, Tepito can be dangerous. Subtle sidebar about Tepito because it's not really related to what we're talking about today. Tepito can be dangerous. My impression, and I could be wrong, my impression is that Tepito is a neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that has a market. Tepito, violence in Tepito, as far as I understand it, ready to be wrong, like most neighborhoods, it's generally not random. That is my understanding of Tepito, that there may be violence there, but it's not like drive-bys, right? Like I think a lot of us have a different idea of violence when like depending on where you grew up. Like I grew up in Southern California, like straight A girl I knew in high school got shot in a drive-by in Denny's. She's 5. But like it's not, you know what I mean? Like, so when I'm in places where violence is more like centered and focused and less like I was just trying to get a double stack, like what's up? It just, like, okay, yes, there's violence, but my understanding is that it's not like I ran through stabbing everybody. It's more like me and him have beef from a neighborhood. We happen to be here at the same time. What's up? That is my understanding of violence in Tepito. And violence in most places in Mexico is it's not random. All right. Yes, Justin Fatima says Tepito is just too crowded for my own comfort. Yes. It's not for me, it's not the violence. It's that like, it's not that I'm scared of going there. I'm not even scared to go there by myself. It feels like the payoff isn't worth it. My friend told me she had life-changing tacos there. When we went on the tour together, the tacos were good. I don't think they were life-changing, but she thought they were life-changing. I'm going to drop the link. Someone asked for the tour guide. I'm going to drop the link. I thought the tacos were good. I didn't think they were life-changing, but not good enough for me to go back to a place that's like, have you ever been to like Disneyland in like the very beginning of the day, or like the time of the day when the kids are getting cranky and like, but they haven't left yet, right? Like, after all them kids leave and the parents go have dinner, it gets kind of empty in like Disneyland and Disney World, or it gets less empty, it gets less full. But like at its peak fullness, now imagine that, and then people tell you it's not safe. That's what it's like. It's like it's all these people, there's all this stuff, you don't know what's going on. There's kind of this chaos everywhere. And sometimes people die here. Also. Yeah, so Adelia didn't think that taco was life-changing either, but it was good. All right, so food tour guide I recommend. So this tour guide it's a woman-owned company, and they work to help girls become tour guides in the markets and set up their own stalls in the markets. They really support the girls who work in the market. Apparently, the markets in Mexico City used to be more women run. And then I think some of the jobs for men started drying out. And so they started pushing women out of the market. They started taking over those stalls. That's the history as I've heard it. Might be wrong, but this is what I've been told by someone who lives here and works in the markets. And so what used to be a female-run space does not have as many women anymore. And so this tour company works to get more girls working in the market and like building futures there. Their tour guides are all women. It's women-owned. It's a good deal. Yeah. Kurkuma says I wouldn't recommend visiting without a tour guide. For a tourist, no. If you're a tourist, do not. Everything I said is because I've lived here for years. I know how to maneuver. And I've lived in other spaces for years. I know how to maneuver through spaces that may be a little bit unsafe. If you're a tourist, especially if your Spanish is not A+, no, I'm going to Topeka without a tour guide. With a tour guide, fine. But without one, I don't know how we got here, but don't do that. Don't do that. All right. Anastasia, when you say here, where are you? Are you in Mexico? An American here warned me he saw some locals trying to follow me home recently, cursing not to help them get off my trail. I was power walking, so that helped. To my knowledge, I've never been followed home. I've never been followed anywhere. I had my first bout of, I'll call it sexual harassment the other day. The first one that I was like, the other day on my trail walk, a young kid on a bike like blew a kiss at me from like the other side of the trail. Not like a trail in the woods, a very populated trail in an urban area. I was fine. I was like, you're blowing a kiss, like whatever. And the other day I was on my way to Pilates and a guy who, he may have been drunk, he may have been high. I don't know what was going on. I think he was talking to himself, and he was walking this way. So we kind of hit the corner at the same time and took some more steps, and he was walking, and it's like he's talking to me as I'm walking this way, but I have sunglasses in and AirPods in. I hear him, but I'm pretending I don't because we don't have anything to talk. Like the way you're walking up on me and talking to me, we have anything to talk about. So I'm walking this way. He's walking this way. And then he pauses and pops in behind me and starts like talking in my ear, but we're still in the corner. I turned so fast and crossed the street and left him where he was talking to himself. I was like, boop, boop. Like the minute he physically went from like kind of beside me and paused and got behind me, I was like, absolutely not. Because you could end up getting pushed in traffic, right? Because if this is ever a thing between my safety and your safety, it's never going to be me. So to avoid pushing you into oncoming traffic, I'm just going to cross the street. I looked, that green light was there. Literally, he stepped behind me, too close, said something, and I was like, he did not follow me. It was fine. But that was like the one time where I was like, this feels harassy in a way that I don't normally experience, right? Like, I don't know. He was also youngish, maybe like 25. Does your mama love you? Because she don't want you doing this. Because she don't want this to end the way it could end. I just want to go Pilates. So I need you to leave me alone. We're not doing this. Boop. Cross the street. That was the end of it. But yeah. The dangers that you feel wherever home is are typically not dangers that will go away. They are dangers that you may experience less of, right? But they're not things that go away. All the things that make your life harder are things that generally are things that exist everywhere. All the ways you present yourself at home are the ways you're going to present yourself abroad, right? Generally, unless your plan is a big identity change, your presentation is not going to change. The way people respond to it might, but some people are going to respond to you the same way you responded to at home. Oncoming traffic isn't always an option. Sorry, I was like, you don't want to do this. Let me get away from you before you realize how much you don't want to do this. You're too close. I do not play around with my safety. So let me cross the street. All right. What are we talking about? Kenya, I shared information in the comments for a tour guide. These keep jumping around. Okay, Glass Half Full would like more insider info about living mindfully in Mexico. When you say living mindfully in Mexico, what do you have in mind? Maybe I can do a video. What do you have in mind for living mindfully in Mexico? BJM, I do not want to be a property owner in Mexico. Nothing. I just don't like owning real estate. And so, no, I haven't considered it. Let me pay my rent. When I want to get out, I get out. But some people love it. Nope. It's never the right people getting shot. Like, I had to say it. Sometimes I'm just like, you should be getting pepper sprayed right now, right? Like, this is perfectly pepper sprayable activity. Followed me home? Do you want to die? Like, what? But they don't fear us enough. They don't. They don't. The patriarchy has it all messed up. They don't fear us enough. You followed me home? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. E for everyone. Like, I don't want to get into a violent confrontation on the streets of Mexico City. But if you too close to me, trying to whisper in my ear, right? Like, physically, I don't feel like he touched me. I feel like he was a centimeter away from his body being on my body. Like, he was maybe an inch. His body was too close for us not to be in a crowd. Your body is too close, and you were beside me, and you moved to behind me. You asking for this to get physical in a way that is not what you're going to get. You're going to get physical in a different way. And it's not what you want. This is not going to end. It's not going to end the way you want it to end. So let me just walk away. Because I am my mother's child. I'm afraid of nothing. There is nothing in this world that I am physically afraid of. Monkeys. I'll give you monkeys. Orangutans and gorillas. But mostly, I don't plan on ever coming in contact with an orangutan or a gorilla. But monkeys, anywhere, I'm like, nah, it's not for me. You need to be in that tree while I'm over here. This is people territory. That's monkey territory. Monkeys, physically, I'm like, you're not. Men? Mm-mm. If we fighting, we fighting. I don't care. I do not care. So no, I don't. Yes, men are gonna men, but it's the world we live in. This is actually unleashed her dog on him. Woo! Yes. Yes. You got to learn. You got to learn. You can't be following someone to their neck. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. So home in Atlanta, you're happy person who moved to Mexico. I think that buying real estate in another country requires more work than I'm willing to do in my life right now. Like, I love Mexico City. It's got a number of, like, an amazing number of neighborhoods, different varieties, different quality. A good portion of a city is sinking rapidly because it's built water and dreams, just water and dreams. We just build stuff on lakes and see what happens. Sinking, right? And so what a property looks like now may not be what a property looks like 20 years from now. And between the water and dreams and earthquakes, maybe this property, you can resell it in 10 years. Maybe you can't. Let me rent. Let that be someone else's problem. I don't want it. I don't want it. If the wrong earth, like you'll see in some parts of the city, especially like downtown, two buildings are side by side and you can see like they're attached. I mean, you can see there's a crack down the middle and one is lower than the other. And you'll see that they share a roof and the roof is slanty like this, just like my fingers are doing. The roof is slanting. They were like this and now one's like this because one was built on a better foundation than the other one, but they share a roof. So how does this? It's not for me. Mm-mm. It's not for me. Mm-mm. Built on water and dreams. Hopes. The hopes. I'm not. And these earthquakes don't care about your hopes. Mm-mm. They do not. So I'm gonna be renting until I'm somewhere else, or probably renting again. Because also, like every once in a while, I look at a house. I'm like just for rent, I'll just look at a house. Like, oh, Adelia, this is. I said to her, and she's like, but lawn work, making sure your water tank is like cleaned regularly and it's full. Gas. I'm like, yeah, all this stuff comes automatically to me, huh? Like I don't have to think about going back to a house again. I don't see it. Not for me right now. Mm-mm. Okay, glass half full. That's a really good idea. Like how to help local women here. Let me screenshot this because I can't take notes right now. That's a good question. Yes, Amy says my fear of real estate abroad is how volatile things are, and yes, climate disasters and earthquakes. So to like buy real estate anywhere, you need to like research the price of things and the value and what they're worth and all that stuff. And I gotta figure out if this is an okay place to live with an earthquake. And if it's sinking, like the speed at which it's sinking, if it's sinking. No, thank you. Not anymore. Mm-mm. Oh yeah, the sidewalks. The sidewalks are a function of earthquakes and tree roots because they don't move trees. But if it's an earthquake, we know everything got shaken, building, whatever. If it's a tree that has completely warped the sidewalk, is it also impacting the building? Probably in some way or another. If it's not now, will it 5 years from now? Probably. Yeah, not for me. Would I move to another city in Mexico? Probably not. I think it's Mexico City for me or another country. Not, there are some lovely cities in Mexico, but like Mexico City is my heart. On the food show we watched yesterday, every episode had something in Mexico City. Every episode was like, boom. Every episode didn't have something somewhere else, but every episode has something in Mexico City. Some of them were known, some of them were on our routes that we normally take. Some of them Adelia knew about. Some of them I was like, yep, that's that guy. I know where that guy is right now. You cannot beat it. Oh, and then okay, let's be real. Some of the episodes in some cities, canned nacho cheese is acceptable. I cannot stand, like literally, I was almost gagging last night watching it. I cannot view, smell, like that canned cheese makes me sick. Cheese was my first word. I'm very particular about cheese. I'm not even that particular, but like cheese sauce is not cheese, and we're not doing it. And in so many of the episodes, it was like just piles of in these other cities far away. It was just cheese, like the snacks were all like cheese sauce on top of corn, on top of chips with real cheese. And yo, snacks are cheese sauce? I can't live there. I cannot live in a city with a high cheese sauce occurrence rate. That's a new term. The cheese sauce occurrence rate has to be low for me to comfortably. It was just buckets of cheese. No. Mm-mm. It's not for me. Mexico City has everything I want. All the foods, all the ridiculousness. This is one of those cities that like is ridiculous. It's insane. And I love that, right? I love it. It makes me happy. So, yeah. The cheese sauce occurrence ratio, what did I say? Rate? Low. Has to be low. Were the newer apartments buildings, are the newer apartment buildings built to withstand the earthquakes? I hope so, because I'm in one. They say they are, but who knows? I'm also not afraid of earthquakes because I grew up in Southern California, right? Like I feel an earthquake and I'm like, okay. Whereas other people are like, whoa. I'm like, it's fine. I'm napping. I'm not getting up. Not for this. Like this swaying, the building swaying, but like I don't hear anything cracking, so I'm gonna be right here. Now that is not advice. It's not advice. I just in the older buildings, some of the neighborhoods like Roma, the buildings when they had that big earthquake, the buildings just booped, boop, boop. Because they weren't built for earthquakes. They are in a very active earthquake zone, but they did not build a lot of the older buildings for earthquakes. But now they're supposed to all have earthquake ratings. I don't know what mine is, but all right. Yes, the forecast is thunderstorms. So right now it's super clear. If I turn this, can you guys see? Hold on. I'm gonna move this mic and see if you can see out my window. Ignore all the crap. Ignore all the crap. Ignore all the crap. Oh no, you can't. No, that didn't work. That did not work, and now you've seen all my crap. But it's super clear out the window. I can see the mountains today. I can only see the mountains, but it's rainy season, so it rains typically every day. I don't think it rained yesterday, but it rains every day at like midnight. No, why did I say that? 6 p.m. to like midnight, maybe later. And so if you want to do stuff in Mexico City, it's a great time to go out in the morning, but in the evenings, bring an umbrella. Don't leave your house. If you're leaving after 4, don't leave without. If you're going to be out after 4, bring an umbrella with you. Bring a small umbrella you can put in a bag. Every day you go out, if you don't plan on being home before 4, bring an umbrella. Around 6, the rain is like, wherever you are, stay there. Wherever you are, stay there. Because we're just going to flood a little bit. Cars get really expensive. Like Ubers get really expensive. Really expensive is like $10. But they're normally like pre-pandemic, like $2, right? Traffic gets really bad. because rain. So be home or plan on staying where you are. Have you liked this video yet? Have you? Have you? If you have more questions about Mexico City, you can book an Ask Me Anything session with me. That link right there. It's in the comments, and happy to work with you. If you want to come here, if you want to be here for a while, happy to help you. Yeah, I have so I am very, very lucky in that my apartment has a lot of light, and I have a great view. It's one of the reasons that I would be hesitant to move anywhere else in the city. Every time I see an apartment, I'm like, but you're looking directly into that other apartment. Like your view is like your neighbor's living room. I want that. So I have a great view. I post it on Instagram occasionally. A great view back to the mountains. It's almost 180 degrees view, blocked by a couple of buildings, but it's hard. Like the thought of moving, when I look at other places, I'm like, I've got a balcony, I've got a view, I've got a lot of, like, I don't have any other light on. There's no light on right now except for the natural light coming through the window that I just showed you. And I'm in the dining room. That's the living room. I'm in the dining room, which is just my office. So I'm not close to the window, but you see all that? You see all that light? You see all that light and highlighter? The light comes in to the window. It's why it makes that corner kind of hard to see. That's the corner that's closest to the light. You see how it's like that gold really reflects back there. And it's not bright right now. It's kind of hazy. It's a little hazy, but I can still see out, lots of light. It's why I'm hesitant to move. But if you come here expecting a great view for an apartment, hard to find. Hard to find. All right. Let me see. I think that's it. Yes, rainy season is not a joke. People come all the time and they're like, I saw, but I didn't really believe it was going to rain. And I'm like, no, you're going to be in that. Have a plan for when it rains, because I got caught in the rain twice this week. One was at like 2 p.m. It was when I was leaving immigration. I stopped to eat. Then I went home and I think it was around 2 p.m. and I was in the rain and I was like, it's not even, every day I got caught in the rain because I went out after 4 in sandals, like a big dummy with no umbrella. No, I had an umbrella. I had an umbrella, but I was wearing sandals. And at 7 o'clock when I came home, hard. It was raining hard. I left at like 4:30. Why would I do that in sandals? Like a dummy. Because it was nice and sunny outside. It's rainy season. Sunny means nothing. Sunny is just a suggestion. I know. Anyway, y'all, I'm getting hungry, so you know what that means. I'm clocking out soon. Let's see. Greta said, I went to New York City on Friday and everything on my body hurt. I said, I must get in shape before moving to CDMX. You can, for a while during the pandemic, I wasn't walking as much as I used to. But it's a walking city. It's a very, very walkable city, but you don't have public transportation, and Ubers are so cheap and accessible that you don't have to walk if you don't want to, but it's a great walkable city. Almost every neighborhood is really, really walkable. Let's see. This is like quintessential Mexico City. My first night in CDMX, the street below me flooded and became a river. I was amazed that everybody ran out of the shops and started removing any blockages from drains. Yes. The people in Mexico City and a lot of other Mexican towns, if I get up and I walk around in the morning There are people outside with buckets of water scrubbing the sidewalk in front of their shops. Scrubbing the sidewalk, the shop owners. Because the block in front of their shop, gonna be clean. Anything, any trash you dropped, gonna get picked up. I was taking a walk down my trail the other day, urban trail, and a man had like an empty chip bag and he had gloves on. He had on work shoes and I think like a bag. He had he's on his way to work, it looks like. He had on gloves and he was picking up people's trash off of the ground. I was like, on your way to work, you out here. It's hard to find a trash can in Mexico. In a lot of neighborhoods, trash cans are not that prevalent. But people generally do not throw their trash on the ground. You don't just dump your trash. People take the place in front of every shop. There's someone outside with a broom and a bucket of soap. Yesterday morning, I saw people with a broom and a bucket of soap cleaning up a sidewalk before they set up their taco cart for the day. Clean up a sidewalk. So yes, it does not surprise me at all that people were removing blockages from drains to keep it from flooding where their shops were. Because one, if it's flooded, you're not going to stop. You're not stopping to shop. You're going to be on the other side of a street or a different street, right? And so economics of it say we need to clear this, remove these blockages so the money can come, right? But the other part of that is people take a lot of pride in their neighborhood and they know that no one else is coming to help you, right? Like they're not calling the city like these drains are blocked and it flooded, so please come and fix it. That's not, it's very much like we're all out there fixing the problem we see, because if we don't, no one else is going to do it and it's more important to us than anybody else. And so you see a lot of that here and I like it. All right. Thank you, friends, for being with me. We've been on for 2 hours and almost 45 minutes, which means I need to eat. It's time for some nutrition. And maybe a nap. I went to yoga this morning. I was supposed to have a date this afternoon. Pero he said he got exposed to COVID. And so now I don't have a date this afternoon. But I'm back on the apps. Back on the apps. Blessing them with all of his charm and wit. Blessing the apps. So yes, I'm back on. And we're going to see what happens. But my date today got canceled. So I was like, when will I actually get a nap? Because I'm going to yoga. I came right back. Shower changed. Hopped on. And I was like, well, what? And then I was supposed to leave here. I would be late for my date. I should have left 15 minutes ago if I was going to make the date. So I was like, when will I actually nap? But now the date's canceled. I'm going to nap now. And I mean, I'm hoping for a time where we could switch those around and dating is better than napping. I wouldn't be opposed to like napping on a date, but like that would have to be like, maybe you nap at your place and I nap at mine, because y'all know I don't like strangers like that. You know I do not like strangers like that. So I don't know how that would work, but like dapping, nating, what are we going to call that? Like nap dating. That, I think there's something there. But like living life together apart. It's that kind of like, y'all know, we live life together, but we're apart. That's the beginning of that, I think. Napping on a date, far away. FaceTime napping. Okay, y'all on this. Y'all are on this. I love it. FaceTime napping might be the way to go. All right, thanks, friends. Until next time, I will see you. Are you signed up for my newsletter? Are you? Have I dropped the link lately? I write to my list every week and we talk about stuff you need to know. That is not it. Child, I don't know. I thought I had that link, but I don't have the link. Hold on. Hold, please. So if you're not on there already, you should get on. And I'm gonna tell you things you need to know. And you can ask me questions and we can talk. It's the best way to kind of like stay in touch. Stay in touch. Here we go. Here's the link. I've dropped through like 47 steps. Oh, because it's share. Jump through 47 steps to get it. But here it is. That's the link to join my newsletter. You can come through, get some info, help you out. I'm going to go eat and nap, and then we will catch up. Oh, Fiery Tail Ending wants to live next door to my guy. I like it. I like it. Yes. All right, friends. Until next time. Hi, Ashley Elizabeth. Bye, everyone. Talk soon.